The screaming didn't stop until I finally realized it was coming from me. By that time, Latte was going crazy barking, and I'd woken up half the neighborhood. At least that's what I had to assume by the number of people who had suddenly appeared. 2 of those people were Ryan and Sammy. They both came running towards me.
"What's going on? What happened?"
Ryan asked. He pulled me away from Cheryl's body and pushed me towards Sammy. I held my breath as he bent to check Cheryl's pulse, hoping that despite all the signs to the contrary, maybe she was still alive. When he closed her eyes, I knew she wasn't.
"Sammy, go get a sheet and my cell phone from inside the house," he said. "Fran, go up there with her. Take Latte."
That's when I realized I must have dropped his leash. "Come on, Latte." I patted my thigh as I followed Sammy back towards Ryan's house. For the first time that morning, Latte actually listened to me.
"Everybody go back inside your houses. There's nothing to see here."
I stayed on the patio while Sammy went inside. She came back a minute later with the sheet and cell phone. Ryan met her partway across the lawn and took both items from her. He covered Cheryl's body with the sheet, then dialed the phone and held it to his ear. Sammy and I leaned against the house, Latte sitting obediently between us. Neither of us spoke. After a minute or 2 on the phone, Ryan walked back up to the patio. "What happened?" I stammered. Was she—" I struggled to ask the question, even though the answer was obvious. Some part of me just hoped Ryan would say that she had a medical condition that made her face and neck explode in bruises just before she dropped dead.
"The police will take our statements when they get here. We shouldn't discuss anything before then."
"But you are the police," I said stupidly.
"Not on this case, I'm not."
It made sense in some part of my brain. It's probably not looked highly upon to investigate the body that shows up in your yard. But another part of my brain didn't see what the problem was. A cop is a cop regardless of the case, right? The sounds of sirens distracted me. Once the police got here, we'd be able to talk about it. Mike Stanton, our friend and detective in the Cape Bay Police Department, was the first to come around the corner of the house, followed by another uniformed officer who I recognized vaguely, but didn't know the name of.
"Leary, what have we got?"
Mike said, barely breaking stride as he walked past Ryan. Ryan jogged to catch up with him. They spoke quietly, so I couldn't hear them, but I imagined it was something along the lines of, "Fran found my ex-girlfriend strangled to death in my backyard and started screaming so loud that it woke me and my current girlfriend." I turned to look at Sammy. "You spent the night here." She blushed a bright red and looked down at her feet, which, I noticed, were wearing what looked to be Ryan's shoes. The sweatpants she was wearing were also Ryan's. At least if Buffalo Police, Ryan's previous employer, was any indication. Her coat was her own, at least. Before either of us could say anything, Mike and Ryan walked back over.
"Sammy, you going to talk to Simmons?"
he said, pointing at the other uniformed officer.
"Fran, you coming with me?"